it's Bumbleberry. Last time we had weird sex with Guillerne, who is probably possessed and might have killed Catherine, who made out with her friend Rosa and almost ate her as well. It's been a rough day. Let's see if she's alive.
Rosa stood in front of the door to Catherine's room. Her hand raised to knock, but she didn't move. Doubt was creeping into her mind like a spider crawling on the wall. She remembered the feeling of hunger from the night they had kissed. It was both familiar and utterly alien, like an instinct, an urge she hadn't felt in a long time. A shiver ran down her spine at the memory. She's avoiding me, isn't she? She hadn't seen Catherine for a few days since that night. She had been spending a lot of her time alone, locked away in her room. Whenever Rosa saw her in the chateau, she would excuse herself and leave. So she saw her, which means that she's not dead, legally. But days had passed, and Catherine's behavior began to worry her even more. I don't want to say she's repulsed by you, because she's not. She's just selfish. What did you expect? She's selfish, just like everyone else. She used you as an experiment, and now that her curiosity is sated, she's done with you. You don't matter to her. You probably never did. Which is a good thing, darling. You see her true face. Rosa's like, you always know what to say, Mom. No matter. She's never going to love you like Mother does. Like all of the others, she's going to leave you in the end. And then you're all alone. Only Mother will stay with you forever and love you. So be a good child and listen to what I tell you. Guardian Angel Mom is super overbearing and selfish, but that's okay. Rosa bit her lower lip. This was all her fault, wasn't it? She needed to make it right. If Rosa talked to her properly, she was sure they would come to an understanding. She had to explain to her. What exactly? They had both been drunk and the kisses didn't mean anything? Her stomach churned at this thought. In the end, it didn't matter what Rosa wanted. Catherine obviously regretted what had happened. She didn't want to lose her friend because of too much wine. She gently knocked on Catherine's door. Catherine, may I come in? Please, Catherine, I'm sorry for the mess, but can we talk? Rosa waited for an answer. None came. She's probably, succubied out. Rosa turned the handle slowly and entered. An empty room. Usually Catherine's room was brightly lit. The windows let in a fresh breeze, often carrying the sweet smell of flowers in the spring. Right now, however, the curtains were drawn closed. The few candles burning on a desk weren't enough to banish this darkness completely. Oh, Blair Witching it up, I see. The air hung heavy in this room. Catherine didn't turn around when the door opened. She just stood there unmoving in front of a wall. Why do you have 5 candles in the corner? Are you reading? You just like the ambiance? The sounds of something scratching along a rough surface filled the air. Rosa felt a shiver run down her spine at this sound, and her muscles tensed instinctively. She approached Catherine slowly and apprehensively. When she came closer, she could hear that Catherine was whispering the same few words, over and over again. He loves me. He loves me not. Catherine giggled. He loves me. He loves me not. Catherine, are you all right? Rosa stepped next to Catherine and peered at her outstretched hand. In the dim light, it took a moment for her to make sense of what she saw. Oh, you've gone crazy! Catherine was scratching at the wall. Good. Good. That's what I like to see. The damage she had done to the wall was nothing compared to what she had done to her fingers. Cath? Oh my gosh, Catherine, stop! Uh-oh. Whoa, someone is definitely possessed. 99% sure. Rosa's guts twisted horribly. She grabbed Catherine's shoulder to turn her around, away from the wall. She blinked a couple of times before finally reacting to Rosa's presence. Tears welled up in Catherine's bloodshot eyes at the sight of her friend, spilling over her pale cheeks and chapped lips. She held on tightly to Rosa and started sobbing uncontrollably. At least she's kind of still in there. Cath, what's going on? Why are you hurting yourself? Catherine tried to pull herself together as best she could, wiping her nose on the sleeve of her soiled dress. It was heart-wrenching to look at the mess her friend had become. Rosa, you need to help me. You need to protect me from him. She's like gritting her teeth. Don't let him touch me. Who? Let him what? Why do you need me to protect you? Suddenly Catherine shushed her, a finger to her lips and with a scared expression on her face. She leaned an ear towards the door and listened intensely for a moment. Oh, he's here. The scared expression turned into a manic and frightening glee. I think he's coming. Guillerne, honey. Guillerne, I love you. After yelling the last words, Catherine started sobbing again, with more tears streaming down her face. Before Rosa could try to console her, however, her sobs faded into hysterical laughter. It barely left time for a gasp of breath. Oh, Guillerne, I love the way you pull me close and hug me, and how kind you are to everyone you meet, and your eyes. What's going on here? Guillerne stood at the front in the door, frowning. His eyes wandered across the room and caught sight of Catherine. His face froze in shock. Catherine stared wide-eyed for a second. She snarled at him like a ferocious animal. Hurr! Back up, beastie face. You bastard! Get out of my room! Get lost! She stormed over to the desk and grabbed a letter opener from the table. Ooh, yeah! Go stab him! With this weapon in firm grip and malice in her eyes, she rushed to Guillaume. This poor lady is being, succubied by 2 people. And her sister was pretty evil, but she kind of killed her sister, so I guess, I don't know. Maybe she's being haunted too. Don't you dare show your face to me! Catherine, no. Whoa! Whoa! The knife plunged into Guillerne's arm? Blood quickly stained his sleeve red, but Catherine only recoiled to strike back with no hint of stopping. Oh my gosh. Catherine. They wrestled for a moment until Guillerne was able to grab Catherine's hand. She dropped the letter opener and slumped to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Rosa quickly picked up the blade and stepped out of reach. When she turned around again, Guillerne had already pulled Catherine into a tight embrace. Between her sobs and hiccups, Rosa could hear her apologizing. I'm so sorry, Guillerne. What? I'm so sorry. Do you love me? Please, Guillerne, do you love me? She repeated the question over and over again, no matter how many times Guillerne reassured her. It was probably a good idea to find something to calm her down. Rosa didn't feel completely at ease doing so, but she left her friend alone with the Marquis for a few minutes. Later she returned with a glass of water laced with valerian root. Guillerne had already coaxed Catherine to lie down on her bed, while Rosa helped her drink the nightcap. They watched her in silence as she drifted into a fitful sleep. Guillerne and Rosa left the room. They didn't speak for a while. I can just imagine them. They're both pretty quiet. They're just like, so that murder attempt was pretty wild, huh? How is your arm? Guillerne hid the injured arm away from view. Fine. Just a scratch. The bleeding hadn't stopped yet. Rosa could tell the cut was deeper than Guillerne let on. What is happening? What's gotten into Catherine? Guillerne just shrugged with a cold expression of worry on his face. I wish I knew, Rosa. The state she's in scares me, to be honest. It might be an onset of an episode waiting to happen, like her sister before. Rosa's mouth tightened. Ooh, how dare you say that? She's not crazy. That's true. You make them crazy because you feast on their souls. Rosa searched his face for traces of a lie, but it was like a mask contorted by worry. She couldn't tell whether he was lying or telling the truth. She asked me to protect her from you. Did you hurt her? You know I wouldn't. She is unwell. Also, you're a liar. It seems I am the target of her psychotic state. That is all I know. But why? Stop. Stop it, Rosa. It hurts me too, seeing her like this. Please stop questioning me further. I'm going to call for a physician. Please stay with her in the meantime. See that she doesn't harm herself again. For a moment he met her eyes. Before she could say more, however, he turned around and left. See if his pants have caught on fire yet, child. He is a liar. There's nothing she could do about him now. Rosa left to get a bowl of fresh water and a towel to tend to Catherine's fingers. Oh, my little friend, it's okay. You'll be okay. Don't panic. Catherine had an uneasy sleep while Rosa cleaned her wounds as best she could. She muttered, squealed, and whimpered like a child. It seemed like she was having a nightmare, but Rosa didn't dare wake her before the physician arrived. Instead, she stroked her hair, told her everything would be all right. She tried to appease the growing confusion of voices in her head. What had happened between Catherine and Guillerne? Their relation was often erratic, but Rosa dismissed the possibility that this was one of their usual fights. Rosa remembered Catherine's face, filled with utter spite at the man. She had never seen that much hatred in Catherine. After a few minutes, Catherine opened her eyes. She looked around with some confusion. Tears welled up in her eyes. Rosa. Rosa held out her hand. Her heart broke when she saw Catherine wince. Rosa, I'm so scared. Everything is such a mess. It's going to be all right, Cath. Don't worry now. Just try to sleep more. No, you don't understand. Catherine tried to sit up, but Rosa pushed her down gently. You need rest, Cath. I hate him. This is all his fault. She sniffed, but settled down on her pillow once more. When she spoke again, it was in a whisper. Rosa, She chewed on her dry, chapped lips for a moment, as if she couldn't get the words out. I don't think I love him anymore. What? A dry sob escaped her, followed by tears rolling down her cheeks. Had Catherine really just said that? But I don't understand this. When I think of him, Her voice cracked. She shuddered under the blanket like an ill breeze had just sprung up in the room. I'm not allowed to take care of him. Or not. Yeah. It's like bugs are crawling under my skin. I can't bear to look at him anymore. I just can't. I can't even say his name. Why? Do you remember exactly when or why you started feeling this way? That night. Rosa winced. Catherine covered her face with her hands. It was a horrible night. Rosa's chest hurt. Was this her fault? She didn't know what she had done, but didn't she do something to her? I'm sorry. Catherine went on like she hadn't heard her. I went to his room. We spent the night together. Rosa waited for Catherine to continue, but the girl stared blankly. She just stopped speaking, as if forgetting she was ever speaking at all. Cath? Did he hurt you that night? No. Maybe? Catherine shook her head. I don't know. She grabbed her head and sobbed. The grip on Rosa's heart tightened. How can this be? Her eyes drowned in tears. I love him, Rosa, don't I? I remember everything. I love him. I know I do. I'm sure I do. But I hate him, too, to the very core. I want to hurt him and punish him for something. I want to snuff out the breath from his throat. But sometimes Catherine's eyes went blank. I just don't care for him at all. Sometimes I feel nothing. Nothing at all. And that scares me more. She laid on the bed, quiet now, letting the tears flow out of her eyes without wiping them. I'm going mad, Rosa. Catherine. I am, aren't I? Like my sister. Like my mother. It runs in our blood. They said I'm a child of a madwoman. They said I'm going to turn out exactly like her. Rosa stroked her hair and tried her best to soothe her, saying that everything would be all right. They were empty words, but she didn't know what else to say. She wanted them to be true so badly, for her friend's sake as well as her own. Was Guillerne really the cause of Catherine's confusion and pain? Pangs of guilt pricked her like tiny needles. Or was this her fault? Rubbish, you fool. This is all his fault. I can feel it. We must get to the bottom of this. Yes, Mother. Rosa looked down on her best friend and nodded slightly to herself. Everything will be all right, Catherine. I promise. She would make it all right somehow. She had to. The physician arrived shortly but did basically nothing. Catherine never regained her personality. She remained moody and irritable, breaking into fits of hysterical laughter or heartbreaking sobs at seemingly random intervals. Guillerne and Rosa would take turns to tend to her. Her moods fluctuated, her temper uncontrollable. There were times when she begged for attention from Guillerne, almost clinging to him in despair, never letting him out of her sight. Other times she couldn't stand his very presence. Soon, neither Guillerne nor Rosa could console her anymore. She withdrew entirely from the household. What does that even mean? I mean, wouldn't you take the lock off of her room? She starved herself, stopped coming to meals, stopped caring for herself. Her manic episodes degraded to long stretches of blank silence. Emptiness ruled her life. Rosa, what are you doing in the meantime? Are you finding anything out about Guillerne? Are you stabbing him with truth serum so that you find out what he's doing? Looking into her eyes those last days, it was like a fire had been snuffed out behind them. Like the star that had been shining through them had imploded. That's sad. I'm sorry you died. And now we're in the next chapter, 5. Psych. Or Psyche. Oh my gosh, and it has to do with revenge, which I'm sure will be glorious. But I don't know. What is Rosa gonna do? I don't know how to find out the truth from Guillerne. Why must he eat people? I know he has a weird thing inside of him that wants to eat people, but our mom so far hasn't had us eat anyone. At least not that I'm aware of. I don't know. We'll find out, but let me know your thoughts. If you already know, let me know if I'm on track here. But anyway, I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you next time for what I think is the last chapter. Oh, there's creepy whispering. Okay, so I'll see you next time, and stay sweet, comment, whatever.